Okay. Also joining us at this point in time too is Joshua Moses. Sorry, traffic in Lagos.
Good morning, Joshua. Very quickly, now this report, one thing that is part and parcel with ransom banditry in Nigeria is ransom payment. So the report says that there is some form of ransom being demanded by the bandits, and they're asking for the return of about 17 motorcycles. Now it's valued at almost 30 million naira, and they're saying if they get that back, because it's their means of logistics, then they'll be able to release the remaining captives. Do you think at this point in Nigeria, we've seen, unfortunately, Nigeria is always negotiating with these terrorists as opposed to neutralizing them as advised by other countries. I want to ask, in this case, is this something the government should do in order to save the lives of its citizens? I mean, motorcycles are objects. Is it something that should be given? It's not a life for life. It's not prisoner swap. Do you think the government should meet this demand?
So my first answer to that is no. And the reason is not because the lives are not sacred, but because doing that you're empowering them. 177 motorcycles is serious logistics to these guys, and they won't stop. We've seen that negotiating with them, giving them money, giving them arms, giving them what they have always demanded has not changed the outcome, neither has it changed the face of the problems we are dealing with. And it also means that they are vulnerable, if that's the reason they gave for the kidnap, it means that something is crippling them. And it also means that the security agencies have an opening to take them out. You get, because we have to think smartly. These guys are not smarter than our security agencies, and it worries me because I feel like there's complicity within the security architecture. When this problem happened, the Kaduna state government, the police denied it vehemently. It never happened. It took good-spirited Nigerians to keep reiterating that this thing happened. So how many of these things are we ready to sweep under the carpet, and then when it becomes difficult, we now try to choose the easy way out, which is we'll give them what they want, so we get these people out, give them this, give them, as against facing them head on. When you face them head on, we've seen the last few months where there was serious onslaughts against the terrorists. We saw how they shriveled, we saw how much the attacks reduced. Something is giving them this impetus, and it needs to be nipped in the bud. We don't have to cater to them anymore. They know that, I feel that they are on their last legs, and if the Kaduna state government and the Nigerian police will only do the right thing and face them head on and stop covering these things, we'll be rid of this. But we keep giving them, again, because maybe they are sponsors. There are people who benefit from this thing, so we either lie about it or we don't want it to make front page in the news and give the country a bad name, and it doesn't make any sense. So the security agencies should do their job. They can be tracked, which means they know where the people are, and you can have a covert security operation that can take them out. America does it every time, which is why I said before, our collaboration with America, what does it do for us? Does it give us the capabilities to infiltrate these guys and take them out when they do things like this?
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you for that, Josh.
Yeah, for context, the motorcycles were seized during a military operation from this bandits. About 70 motorcycles worth about 28.6 million. Like Paula said, almost 30 million. But let's pivot away from that a bit and go to another story making the rounds this morning, and it has to do with the current political situation in Rivers State. This headline here: why I declined to constitute panel to probe Governor Fubara. That is a chief judge right there in Rivers State. Justice Simeon Amadi. Some people are actually putting up suppositions out there that this could be political, while the chief judge is refusing to set up the panel to probe the governor and the deputy governor as the legislative arm of the government in Rivers State has pushed forward there to impeach the governor. Why exactly is Justice Simeon Amadi refusing to set up that panel?
Well, the issue is very, very clear. We will all recall that earlier on, when the House of Assembly did set up a panel, and eventually the panel recommended that Fubara should be impeached, and then there are impeachable allegations, and we know that impeachable allegations against Fubara. The House of Assembly wrote to the Chief Judge. In the meantime, there was a court ruling forbidding the Chief Judge from receiving that letter, that would empower him to set up a panel, an impartial panel to look into the allegations, and they would have 3 months to do that. Within 3 months, they could do the job within a week and then return their reports. And if Fubara is found guilty, then the impeachment can continue. If he's not found guilty, that will be the end of the matter. Now, you have to take into consideration the Nigerian Constitution, which is section 188, subsection 5 of the Constitution, which says clearly that the Chief Judge shall, that's the operative word, shall institute that panel. Now, who is supposed to interpret the law? The courts. But you have a Rivers State High Court saying, no, Chief Judge, you cannot do this, until we have looked into the matter. And then the Constitution also says that within 7 days, that 7 days, the Rivers State High Court granted an injunction restraining the Chief Judge for 7 days. Now, that 7 days has elapsed. Can the Chief Judge still proceed on the basis of that letter, or you need process to start? That remains debatable. Is a matter for the court to decide.
Okay. Obviously, the next question is, what does this mean right now going forward for Rivers State and this procedure against Fubara?
Well, like I've always stated clearly, yes, everybody will maintain that these are impeachable offenses, but they've never left the realm of politics, and we can now see how the court processes are also being politicized. The Chief Judge is citing prior judgments, relying on prior judgments that said once the matter is within the court, because let's not forget the Rivers State House of Assembly Speaker has also filed a case at the appeal court challenging the verdict of the injunction that was granted by the State High Court. Now they've removed it from the realm of what the Constitution says, and I think in that same section 188 in subsection I think 10 or 11, 10, it also says that once there's a case to be made in the courts, the process also has to be halted. That's just the general paraphrasing of that. That's the idea. When the process does not follow due process, rather. So the injunction is clearly stating that something is wrong with this process, so let's stop and take a look at it again. Now the fact is, do we feel like this is the way Rivers State should be going? The answer is no. Do we think that the political players should come together and resolve this thing once and for all? The answer is yes. And the truth is that elections are just around the corner, and this will drag on till the election season, and within that whole time there's no Rivers State is not operating on any serious budget as it currently stands. Salaries will need to be paid, contractors will need to be paid, a whole lot will need to be done. So there's nothing about this that's in good faith and in goodwill, and it needs to be resolved outside the sphere of the courts.
The courts. All right. Thank you so much for your thoughts.
Let me just clear what subsection 10, section 188, subsection 10 clearly says that no court has a right to interfere in the impeachment process once instituted by the House of Assembly, and that's what the Rivers State House of Assembly has taken to Court of Appeal, which is correct. Those are the provisions of the wordings of section 10, subsection 10 of the 188, section 188 of the
and I stand corrected.
All right.